Is aesthetics a saturated market? Guys, the medical aesthetic industry is expected to surpass $23 billion. That's a B. $1 billion by 2026. So when I hear there's a med spa on every corner, the market is flooded with all of the same devices. And they ask me, like, isn't it just a saturated market? Is that why my numbers are down? Is that why I shouldn't buy another device or, shouldn't open up a second location? Is that why I'm just not meeting my growth and revenue goals? Should I allow myself to tell that story? Should I allow my team to tell the story that, well, it's just because the market is saturated? When I hear this, it makes me think of when I had my very first baby. I think that was almost 14 years ago. And I bought my mom wagon. I bought the Honda CRV mom wagon when I had my first baby many, many years ago. And I thought it was very cool and it was very exciting. And then after I got it, I was like, oh my gosh, there is Honda CRVs everywhere. Everywhere I looked, there was a Honda CRV. And the reality is they had always been there. Like, I was not first to the market with the Honda CRV, but all of a sudden, because I owned a Honda CRV, I now became super hyper aware that there was a sea of Honda CRVs out there. And it also makes me think about the water industry, right? If you look down the aisle at a grocery store, in the water aisle, if you've ever paid attention to that, you're just like, oh my gosh, how are these people making it? In fact, did you know there is over 2,000 different water brands, to be exact? How are they making it, right? How are such an easy product trapped in one aisle? How do you really compete and make it at the end of the day? And you can notice just how many brands are trying to sell it. And arguably, right, it's like the most basic product to sell out there. It's literally quite like the liquid state that tastes nothing in comparison. But so how do you differentiate that, right? And to our patients, Botox is Botox, right? RF microneedling is RF microneedling. Now, we can debate all day long about the best brand devices and who's a better injector, but to patients, it's all the same, right? So even though there might be other med spas out there selling the same product or the service, the main difference, right, is that they're not you. They are not you at the end of the day. So just because they have the same business model, the same devices, the same products, you name it, right? It does not mean that that's gonna prevent you from being great, from making revenue, from growing, from scaling. Now, so the next time you're wondering, like, why me? Why are we not growing? I encourage you to look down the aisle at the grocery store in the water aisle, right? And really reframe your self-doubt of, well, why not me? Why not me? That terminology we use in our head, that story that we tell us it's a saturated market, is really to just self-protect our ego, right? Of why we're not performing, why we're not growing. It really is a story that we are just telling ourselves. And I encourage you, like, to not subscribe to that story, right? That allow you or your team to make that excuse that it's a saturated market. Because I promise you, in the sea of med spas out there, there are many med spas that are winning big, growing hitting their growth and revenue goals. And it's absolutely possible, right? And so when someone says, oh, it's a saturated market, well, what I would say to them, well, good, because clearly there is great opportunity. Let's go out there and get our unfair share of the market, right? Okay, so I'll get off my bandwagon on like the mindset aspect that has to do with the question of, is it a saturated market, and transition into, okay, well, how? How do I then get my unfair share of the market in the medical aesthetic industry, right? If I'm not going to just subscribe, I'm not going to let my ego tell me that it's a saturated market and that's what's really preventing me from growing, then okay, what next, right? I'm ready to tackle that and go out and get my unfair share of the market. So very first thing, just some top tips here. And I've said this probably till I'm blue in the face, but I'm going to keep saying it until all the med spas out there get it, is that you want to get really clear on who you serve. I'm sure that you have heard the saying, right? That the riches are in the niches. And I don't want you to forget that. So many people are so afraid that if they get too narrow focused and niche, that they're going to lose out on patients, right? And they're like, well, I have this great device and I have all these other services. I don't want to be too nichey, right? And at the end of the day, when you're trying to be too many things to too many people, then you're like nothing to no one. And that's a really bad position to be in. And if you have the right orchestrated patient journey, once you get them in on what you really want to be known for, and you're able to recommend a comprehensive treatment plan to use all of the tools in your tool belt. So do not be afraid to really niche down on who it is that you want to serve. And then once you finalize who it is that you want to serve, then you need to build your brand around that and really stand for something. You need to share your passion, your mission, and the success stories around what you stand for and who you serve. And when you start sharing those stories, all of a sudden you start to differentiate yourself, and the conversation isn't just about price anymore, right? No longer are you just selling Botox and filler at a commodity. No longer are they saying, well, I can get that same RF microneedling treatment down the street for a cheaper price, right? Now they're shifting their focus about, being a part of what it is that you stand for and the mission that you serve your patients and the experience that you provide them, right? Those are the type of quality patients that you want to work with, that are so enjoyable and rewarding, both from an enjoyment aspect as well as financially at the end of the day. So get really clear on who you serve and then share your stories around who it is that you serve. And that will make a huge, huge impact. The next thing is that you have to innovate. You cannot just expect to keep doing the same thing over and over again, and that wave is going to just go on forever. You have to continue to innovate in your business. Innovation can look like new technology, advanced training, and really going deep on the experience that you provide your clients. And we constantly have to be fine-tuning and innovating, not only our skill set with like the didactics of things, right? But also those things that you can't necessarily teach all the time, right? Within our company, our culture, our client experience, our follow-up, how we make people feel. Those are all things that are going to really help you stand out, and you have to constantly be innovating on those things. Another thing is that you have to have massive confidence. Now, this is a core value at Diamond Accelerator. I am all about my Diamond girls having massive confidence. And I implore you to have that as a core value at your aesthetic practice, because if you lack confidence, you are never going to be able to recommend comprehensive or combination treatment plans. You are always going to be on this one and done, turn and burn on this hamster wheel cycle of treatments. And what that results in is low revenue, low retention rates, and swapping one and done patients with your marketing dollars. And it sucks for everyone all the way around. And one of the biggest components of being able to recommend and get a commitment to comprehensive treatment plans and combination treatment plans is to really have confidence and passion when you are in the treatment room. And so you want to be talking about that. You want to be rewarding that. You want to be nurturing that on your team at all times. And it literally will bleed into all aspects of your business. And I mean that in a really positive way. And the final thing is that I would say is that you have to be committed to growth. You have to absolutely be committed to growth as a business owner, as a business leader, and for your employees as well. Another one of our core values at Diamond Accelerator is to be growth minded. It's absolutely important to have a growth mindset, because if you're not, you're going to have a real hard time adapting to change and the innovations that are happening in the industry every single day. And so you want to really make sure that you're investing in yourself and your team at all times, and not, again, just on didactics. Of course, that is really important that they understand advanced techniques on the lasers and injectables and whatnot. But there are also other things that are to make the total person that's going to make them a better employee as well, right? There's mindset, there's personal health, there is emotional health, right? All of these things impacts your employees at work every single day. Last night I was listening to Blinkist. I'm a big fan of Blinkist. If you haven't ever checked out that app before, I was listening to a book on Blinkist, and they were talking about how they believe that you should be investing 3% of your annual salary into your personal growth and development. And I know prior to being a business owner, that I didn't have an employee that invested in my growth and development. I had to do it myself, right? In a perfect world, I believe that it should be a mix, right? Of that you should be investing in your team and their training and their growth and development. But I also think that they should be held responsible for contributing it to it at the end of the day. And that helps them to value it more as well. And you're really going to be able to spot, the A players between the B players, and how invested and hungry they are to grow. And if they're willing to spend a little bit of their own money, right? Now, again, what that looks like in your company, I don't know. I'm a big fan of matching programs. I'm a big fan of, like, we do something, then you do something. But at the end of the day, you want to create a culture that growth is really important. And that is going to serve you so well, right? Not only like in the culture, in the community, but also in your revenue at the end of the day. Guaranteed. Hi, lots of people joining us on YouTube and Instagram. Hi, Katie. Hi, Hush. Hey, Phoebe Glow. Hey, Barb. Okay, a couple questions here I'm going to transition to. Actually, I think I covered that one. Any other questions that anyone wants to hop on and ask me about? It could be about the saturation of the market, of the story that a lot of people talk about, or anything at this point. But just to kind of recap, guys, really the most important key first to be able to stand out in a saturated market is to first realize that it's an excuse. It's a story that we tell ourselves, and that there is such a massive opportunity in the aesthetic marketplace. So don't allow that to hold us back from growing. Don't allow that to hold us back from really taking action, to just figuring it out at the end of the day. Because the truth is that it's not a saturated market. It's just such a great opportunity to be in aesthetics. Okay. So I hope that helps. Call yourself out, call your team out. It is BS at the end of the day. It's excuse, and you're really just trying to protect your ego at the end of the day. So don't let that prevent you from really growing and being an action taker to achieve both the business and lifestyle of your dreams. And once you've gotten past that story or that excuse, take action, right? And differentiate yourself and do all the things that I just shared with you. And that's going to help you really stand out from the competition. And I just know that to be true. If you look at aesthetic practices all across the country, why is it that some struggle to ever get past $20,000 or $30,000 a month, never make it to being $1 million a year med spa? And others are doing 3, 4, 5, 6, $10 million a year in revenue. And they literally have all the same services that you offer that's doing much less, right? And sure, they have bigger teams, but they didn't always have bigger teams, right? And they were hitting those growth milestones and they were continuing just to grow more team members as they were generating revenue, right? And I will tell you, it's the little things that I just shared with you about really differentiating your staff and getting clear on who you serve, right? And then sharing your mission and your success stories around who you serve at the end of the day, and not being afraid to recommend comprehensive and combination treatment plans, having a real confidence and passion about how that is going to give them the results that they are looking for, and not allowing patients to dictate their treatment plan, right? And the way that you're able to gain confidence is for you to have repetitions and to get good at what you do, right? And that it's that commitment to growth that is going to help you to gain that confidence over time. So I hope that you found this training helpful. And if you loved it, be sure to share it with another med spa or a team member that can help level up their mindset at the end of the day and be an action taker and implement the tips that I shared with you. You can always catch my replay on my YouTube channel, and you can catch me live every single Wednesday, same time, same place. Catch me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.